Within this video, I'm going to discuss what I learned while in the Army from having many one-on-one conversations with white racist soldiers that were secretly members of skinheads and KKK. Of course, they didn't openly advertise their affiliation with those racist groups. However, within the military, soldiers talk, and therefore those facts eventually become known. Many people may be surprised to learn that many white U.S. soldiers are members of racist extremist groups, but it's actually nothing new. Presently, at all Klan rallies and skinhead meetings held across the nation, a significant number of those members are comprised of active military veterans, and also law enforcement officials. These are facts that are rarely discussed within the mainstream media because the goal of the white establishment, the ruling elites, is to keep black people believing that our greatest threat confronting us is ourselves. It's how they prevent us from unifying ourselves against the white oppressive society. Okay, now returning to the subject of these white racist soldiers. While many of the other African American soldiers would understandably avoid those racist soldiers, I, on the other hand, engaged in meaningful dialogue with many of them. I wanted to learn the foundation of their hatred towards us. I was sincerely curious, given that it's we that have a greater reasons to hate them, yet their hatred towards us is much more greater. While assuring them that our conversations would remain just between themselves and me, I wouldn't report it to higher command. I asked them to candidly explain their hatred towards our people. Their responses were always the same. They would use different wordings, of course, but their responses were otherwise identical. This is because they all used the same anti-black talking points that they never actually researched for themselves to verify were they true. The following are those talking points. They say that their hatred towards us is because our racial group commits most violent crimes, are the largest recipient of welfare, that we're the largest benefactor of affirmative actions also, and that we're the leeches of society that haven't invented much throughout history, that we're instead moving along into the future benefiting from most inventions made by white people. These are the talking points being regurgitated by all anti-black groups within the United States. But none of them are actually factual. The fact is that everything that they say about us are lies. And when I say everything, I do mean everything. The U.S. largest recipient of welfare are not black people. Data reveals that the largest recipient of welfare are Caucasians. Data also reveal that the largest benefactor of affirmative actions are in fact white women. Therefore, by extension, the white society benefits most from affirmative action. And FBI data reveals that most violent crimes in the U.S. are in fact committed by Caucasians. Caucasians makes up the majority of mass shooters, serial killers, rapists, and committers of hate crimes, and commits most homicides. Most cops in the U.S. have been killed by Caucasians. Caucasians are also more likely than any other racial group to kill a parent or to kill a loved one for financial gains. And these are facts. And in regard to their claim that we're the leeches of society that haven't invented much throughout history, it became apparent that those white racist people are clueless of the fact that the history we've been taught has been whitewashed to make their racial group appear more significant throughout history than they truly were by giving their group credit for most achievements that were actually, in fact, made by black people. They don't know that through the nefarious process, this whitewashing practice, that the collective self-esteem of the white masses has been falsely bolstered at the expense of the collective self-esteem of the black masses. Case, point, and proof. White schools teaches us that Thomas Edison is responsible for lighting up the entire world. However, when Edison patented his light bulbs, No companies purchased it, no mass produced it, because it was deemed not efficient enough. It lit very dimly and only lasted a few minutes. The light bulb that was actually sold to the U.S. Electric Company in 1881 and its inventor dispatched around the world to oversee its installation was actually invented and patterned by an African American named Lewis Latimer. Therefore, in reality, the fact is that it was actually a black man that lit up the entire world. Lewis Latimer also holds the pattern for the electric lamp. He's also the one who drew the pattern schematic design for Graham Bell's telephone. White schools also teaches us that the Wright brothers invented and flew the first aircraft in 1909. However, the hidden fact is that an African American named Charles F. Page had already invented, patterned, and flown an aircraft 3 years earlier in 1906. White schools also teaches us that Henry Ford invented the first automobile. It was actually an African American inventor and carriage company entrepreneur named Charles R. Patterson that built the first automobile. It was released in 1905 and sold for $850. It had a 4-cylinder Continental engine. C.R. Patterson began making automobiles long before Henry Ford, and his automobiles were considered more sophisticated. C.R. Patterson was forced out of business by Henry Ford in 1939. The truth of the matter is that in spite of cultural traumas wrought by the injustice of white racism and slavery, most inventions that have revolutionized the world were either in fact invented by black people or were directly inspired by early inventions by black people. Without black people, we wouldn't have airplanes, automobiles, working light bulbs. There would exist no internet, no cell phones. We wouldn't have cameras and microphones on our cell phones. We wouldn't have the accurate weather forecasting system. We wouldn't have the cataract laser removal scope. There would be no emails, no GPS, no hearing aids, no touch-tone phones, no caller ID, no home surveillance security system, no home game cartridge, no motorized vehicles, no motors, no steam engines, no traffic lights, no elevators, therefore no skyscrapers. No air conditioning, no modern PC. We wouldn't have 3D movies. We wouldn't have central heating. We wouldn't have refrigerators, helicopters, washing machine, lawnmowers, dryers, refrigerated trucks, blood banks, fiber optics, nanotechnology, female sanitary pads, bathroom tissue holders, pencil sharpeners, doorknobs, etc., etc. Black people have in fact enriched the lives of virtually everyone on this planet through our many inventions. It is a narrative you never hear about. Those white racist people also makes the claim that the white side's invasion of Africa and their enslavement of us benefited us because our ancestors were uncivilized and illiterate before the arrival of Europeans. But that's also an absolute lie. Long before the Europeans invaded Africa, it was Africa that civilized Europe. All of Greece's first scholars were educated by Africans. The world's oldest university, library, manuscript, encyclopedia, human prosthetic, mathematical tools, medical journals, and the world's oldest standing kingdom are all located in Africa. Africans are the first to build in stone and the first to smelt metal. Africans introduced science, writing, mathematics, and philosophy to the world. Africans invented the wheel, paper, calendar, the concept of 24 hours in a day, the 365-day calendar, the clock, leap year, organized labor, surgical instruments, cosmetic, the plow, the wheel, black ink, ink pen, shoes, high heel shoes, condoms, hair wigs, hair dyes, makeup, hairbrush, keys, hair combs, bases, Bretmans, the chisel, toothpaste, door lock, shaving, writing, human prosthetics, astronomy, medicine, the solar calendar, paved roads, governments. Africans introduced shaving, the use of toothpaste, perfume, fragrance oil, and even introduced the daily bath to Europeans. The white society has also whitewashed history by miseducating us to believe that Africa's ancient Egyptians were ridiculously Europeans. However, all scientific evidence proved that they were in fact Africans. The geographical location of Egypt is in Africa. Radiocarbon dating tests have scientifically proven that the ancient kingdom was built by Africans thousands of years long before the arrival of the first Arabs and Europeans during the 7th century. Hair sample testings, melanin concentrating skin testings, bone density testings, and DNA testings have all scientifically irrefutably proved that Africa's ancient Egyptians were in fact Africans. Their DNA matches current-day sub-Saharan Africans. More specifically, their DNA testings prove that they belong to the human Y chromosome group E1B1A. This is the chromosome group of sub-Saharan Africans who currently speak the Niger-Congo languages. These results were published in the DNA Tribes Digest on February 2013. The white society sits upon a throne of white exalting and black marginalizing lies. The practice is called Orwellian propaganda. Now, falsely negatively distorting the image of black people to the poor working class white masses prevents the white masses from unifying themselves against the white ruling elites. It's exactly as President Lyndon B. Johnson said, that if you can convince the lowest white man that he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you picking his pockets. Hell, give him somebody to look down upon, and he'll empty his pockets for you. So those white people are under a program that keeps them distracted from looking at the ruling elites. The general white population doesn't know what's happening, and it doesn't even know it doesn't know. Noam Chomsky said that. It is time to elevate your mind to understand the reality. The ruling elites are playing chess while the masses aren't even playing checkers. It's time to wake up to our reality.